Alright, YouTube, if you watched my first review, you're at this point. You have a monkey's fist completed and one series of tightening done. This is what we want to get to. This is a finished one. You can see the size difference. Excuse me, same paracord and same ball bearing. So this is where you want to end up right here. With this setup, you're going to have, at this point, a shorter end and a longer end. So you, if you want to make a necklace, for example, you want to have the ends kind of even when you're done. So I'm going to take the longer end and start with that. What I'm going to do is, it's probably 4 inches longer than where I want it to end up. So even though I'm tightening this whole knot as I'm going to go around this time, I'm going to start with most of that slack pulled out. Then you're just going to go around, and at this point when you're tightening, you want to work it around just the same way you did before in my first video, and you can push them, and some of them are still going to pop out for you. If they don't, you should be at least able to see which one is moving. You can see they're still pushing out for me. So you push out one, and you follow where you are and where you were, where you're going. We're going here, so we push out there, and it's going to start coming right out. We're just going to follow this all the way through the entire monkey's fist. Now, if at some point you were to get confused and you end up turning around, there's only 2 ways to go. So if you get confused and you end up turned around, you're going to come back out with the slack at the same end that we just started. In this case, that would be the long end. No problem. If that happens, just start over again and push all the slack you want through the cord. At this point on the side knots, you still want to be careful. So here's one I'm pulling tight now. I'm going to push it down flat with my thumb and pull only what I need to where it looks nice, but not pulling hard on the slack. And you're going to do that all the way around. At this point, you're pulling out the majority of the slack with the other knots, but you could still deform everything if you went too far with these side knots. And that's the biggest tip and hint I can give you, is these end knots, these sides, not knots but loops. When you get to these sides, this would deform easily. I just flatten it out some more. If I pull that too tightly, see that? It deforms, and then you have a ball showing through. So you don't want that. We will pull pretty tight towards the end, but the sides you will never pull as tight as you do the rest of it. And at this point, you just want just enough. Just push it flat and pull out only enough slack. This one's not pushing through that easily, but I can see where I'm going. On the third session of tightening, they definitely won't push out. So you really need to learn from the first two where you're going. And you can do that after a while. The side ones, the inside ones, in the middle are going to be the easiest to follow. Sometimes the side ones can get you turned around. But like I said, if you end up pulling your slack out of the same side you started on, just start over. You're always turning it wherever it's comfortable for you. I just came through here, so I'm going through there. And in the end, you will pull out all the slack, and you will have a nicely finished, very tight monkey's fist. Need some music in the background. Here's another side one. I'm going to push flat and pull out only enough. Here's one where you can get turned around. I just came through on this end, so I'm pushing my string this way. You could easily think it's this one, but it's this one. So that's where, when you're learning, you might get turned around, but you pull that out. Again, that's a side one. I'm going to flatten that. If you can see, as I pull just the slack out. Then I'm going to go back around to where I was working. Again, a side one. push it flat, and you can watch the slack go right out. You pull any further than that, you start pulling all this whole row over. That's not pushing, but I could see which one it was. Say you pull the wrong one. Say you start pulling on the one next to that. It's okay. You can watch what's pulling. If you get the wrong one, just change it around and get the right one. Don't want to pull that one too hard. It's on the side. Again, just watching which way I'm going here. Following that around. Not pushing anymore. I could be, but I'm just watching that go around. Don't want to run the video too long for you guys. So you just want to pull all these out, and again in the middle strings, on the middle paracord loops, you can pull pretty tightly. On the sides, leave it loose. Not loose. Pull out just enough slack. This series is almost done. Follow that around. This will be the last side knot on this one, side loop. Don't pull too tightly now. You could almost stop there. You're thinking, wow, I've got a nice monkey's fist. But you really want to go for one more series of tightenings. I'm not going to go through it on this video for the sake of time for you guys. But what you end up with if you go through the same process you've just learned twice, you'll end up with a much tighter monkey's fist even than this. I don't know how well that's going to show up. Yeah, you can just see where this one is sloppy, and especially where I've left the side pieces loose still. When you come around on this final tightening, you can actually finish that up and make sure that you have the right thing going, and I'll just do a couple of them here for you just to show you. And this is the final. If this is going to be your final tightening, like I said, this time you can go ahead and pull nice and tight. At the same time, watching every line you pull, what it's pulling from the previous mark. So if I'm pulling here this time, I want to look right there where it's pulling. And if it deforms, you've pulled too tight, back up one step. On the middle ones, you can pull nice and tight this time. This is another place that the tools come in handy, but again, I'm showing you without any tools. You can use a marlin spike or many other ways, a deer antler, anything you got that's pointy but not sharp to get in there and really do those knots tight. Okay, so you see the point. You're going around one more time. You start at one side and you pull slack through the whole thing one more time, and you will end up with a super tight, very nice monkey's fist. I like to wear mine as a necklace, like I said. I'm not going to do this in the video for the sake of time, but you just do a little cobra stitch at the end, which there's a million YouTube demos on, or if you need to have any questions about that, I could certainly do a video, but again, very, very many videos on cobra stitch, and that's the one that the bracelet is most commonly made from, the cobra stitch bracelets that you see a lot of people going with. You end it with that, you burn your ends off, and then you have quite the self-defense tool. I'm sure you couldn't see that on camera, but you could probably hear it. This thing is for real, and you wouldn't want to get hit with that. It would crush cans, no problem. Obviously, I'm inside. I'm not going to do that right now, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope it helps. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and might do some more paracord videos. Definitely going to do some more knife reviews, gear reviews. Please sub.